Hello everybody, this is your COM 105 instructor, David Weber. It's about 8:30 on Monday night. I'm here kind of late. I wanted to make these videos about once a week, if not once or twice, but last week with the cancellation of classes sort of threw me off that routine. So I'm making this one kind of a quick and dirty video just to kind of touch base with you before class tomorrow. Many of you have emailed me asking if the exam that is listed in the syllabus for tomorrow is going to be administered, and the answer is no. I like to give 5 to 7 days before an exam for prep. I usually announce an exam 1 week before it is administered, and then that afternoon I issue a study guide. Sometimes it's five days, sometimes it's 7 days. But anyway, I will announce tomorrow the exam. We will be having it next week, probably on Tuesday, and but I'll make a formal announcement about that and remind you that a study guide will be available. I hope you made it through the hurricane. I personally slept through it. It didn't really affect me personally at all. My power didn't even go out. So I guess it's better to be safe than sorry. And, you know, the university had to go through its changes to make sure everybody was safe. But, you know, I'm torn because on the one hand, we lost some instructional days and can't really afford that. But on the other hand, I have to say that unbidden, unexpected 4-day, 5-day vacation was certainly not unwelcome. So, you know, bitter and sweet. Anyway, in these videos, among other things, I like to kind of call your attention to some key points that came up during the week in lecture. This will help underscore what's important to study and restudy and really lock in, because these comments that I make in the video, these topics I call your attention to, are the most central in the course. That doesn't mean other topics are unimportant, and certainly other topics are going to show up on exams, but these are the ones that me and my colleagues, we all think are the absolute most important for you to take into your careers as comm majors. So let's see if I can do this as fast as possible. First of all, we talked about kenosis a week and a half ago. That's the idea of emptying your mind. And we talked about this from the point of view that if you're going to study communication, you've already spent some time thinking about communication, what it is or isn't. We hear the word communication all the time in public communication settings. Everything from TV shows to magazines to blogs. Everyone thinks they know everything there is to know about communication. It ain't so. So you need to empty your mind of what you think you know about communication and instead be open to what you are going to be learning about it, because believe me, much of what we are going to be studying may at most sound sort of familiar because some of the words are words you know, but the depth of it, the nuance, the variety in some of these concepts is going to be a surprise to you. I hope a pleasant surprise. Just one example is this week we're going to be talking about culture. Now, how much have you heard culture battered around over the years, the term and the concept? Well, we're going to look at it from a different perspective, a communication perspective that I hope will be enlightening and interesting and will cause you to think differently about it. Another term that or not a term, but another important point, absolutely vital, is no S in communication when you're talking about what you're studying here, what you're learning at this university, what we're teaching you in this department. The word communications with an S is a perfectly good word, nothing wrong with it, a good English word. It's just not the right word to talk about what we're studying, what I'm teaching. And I can go into great detail about that and why it's so. I hesitate to do so because it starts to get somewhat not something that everybody finds interesting. It's as simple as that. And when I go off on it during lecture, the feedback I get is Weber likes to hear himself talk, which is not true. So if you want to know more details about communication with an S and why that's a good word and what it really means and why we don't use it in this department, please come to my office. You can come with a friend, you can come alone, but I will gladly tell you more about that if you think it's something you want to know about. Another thing we talked about, another topic we covered that's going to be vital to keep in mind throughout your time with us is ethical communication. And if you recall, I said, whatever you define communication as, do it ethically. That's the number one rule, the very first how-to lesson that we treated. And the four ethical responsibilities that a communicator has is the habit of search, and for that, think research. The habit of justice, for that, think I'm blanking out. The habit of justice is oh my God, let me skip ahead. Transparency is motives. Be transparent about your motives. You may or may not choose to say why you're communicating, what you really want to do or accomplish when you communicate. But if you're asked, ethically, you're bound to explain honestly, well, here's my intention here, here's my motive, here's why I'm what I'm hoping to accomplish. The other one was justice, and that just means separating fact from opinion. And then, of course, respect for dissent, my favorite, meaning welcome people who disagree with you. No need to be defensive about that. You can choose to stand firmly on your opinion as long as you can explain why you think that, but don't fear disagreement. Another topic that was important to mention is using language that is distinctive of a perspective on the world held by a communication specialist. So you want to talk the talk of communication. And we used phrases like performing communication practices. Communication practices meaning the actions you take when you communicate. Performing means doing them. We talked about accomplishing results. You perform communication practices and you thereby accomplish results. You construct results. These are the terms that you have to begin using if you're really going to want to sound like a communication specialist. And then finally, maybe the most important topic of all, we defined communication. We defined it as managing mutual responding. And there was a whole segment of the lecture, a slide in which I explained why that is the definition. I won't rehearse all of that here. If you want further clarification of that or you want a reminder about it, please come and see me in my office. I'll be glad to explain how and why we talk about managing mutual responding. Okay, that's it. It's 8 minutes and 5 seconds right now. That's about a minute and 5 seconds longer than I wanted, but I'm going to call it quits and go home, and I'll see you tomorrow.